we go. Welcome back to Motoring Millennials. I'm Anthony Lucci with Zach Rothenberger as always. Today we have a very special guest. Amanda Busick joins us on the podcast. For all of our drag racing friends out there, you may know Amanda as the top-end reporter for all NHRA events. She is also the co-host for Sunday Nitro Live, which is a pre-race show airing on FS1. Across digital platforms, Busick is a host on NHRA's in-house content, also featured on foxsports.com.
Amanda Busick is an award-winning broadcast reporter for the NHRA on Fox Sports, presenter and pit lane reporter for SRO America GT World Challenge on CBS Sports, grid host and pit lane reporter for FIA Formula E on CBS, and a presenter and pit lane reporter for Ferrari Challenge on CBS, and is a live event host and moderator for Discovery, Motor Trend, NFL on Location, and Women Shifting Gears Driven by Hemmings podcast, and much more. Amanda, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Zach. Anthony, it's great to be with you guys. Happy 2022. It is the countdown to season. So trying to rest a little bit, but I am the worst at that. So thank you for having me on, and yeah, doing great. Just enjoying a little bit of an off season.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So we're not the only ones with the podcast. You have one as well. So as we get started, can you give us an introduction to the Women Shifting Gears podcast that you host?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. It's been an endeavor that is very dear to my heart, and I get to share it alongside other women that was also very important to them as well. So we've kind of become this collective of, we're almost like investigating the whole landscape of automotive and motorsports in search of women that are in positions that are not only affecting change, they're also making sure that they're responsible and handing this privilege down of being able to find themselves in these really cool roles. So it started as a COVID project. Truly, we just wanted to connect. And what it turned into was this intimate kind of emotional gathering of women that felt the same way as I did, or as the person sitting in Charlotte, North Carolina, or the person sitting in El Segundo, California, and to have this unity of experience that women, it's not always glory, right? There are things that are tough to talk about, and to share it amongst each other. I think it's been it's a moment and night of the week, and the podcast is something that we really look forward to showcasing these women as, hey, you can do this, you can be this, and guess what? I also know part of your story because I'm also living it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's amazing how you think that network is so small, but it's really large, and you get to share those great stories and get the word out. It's very impactful, that's for sure. And you can find that your podcast on, is it every streaming platform? Is that correct?
Yeah, all streaming platforms. And I know our Tina, who runs all of our social, and she does all the editing of these podcasts. Got to throw out love to Tina. I know she makes sure that it is found throughout social media as well. So it's a quick find. Those are Women Shifting Gears. I think that's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So those will have the direct links to the podcast, anything from Apple to all the other ones that I know they end up on. But yeah, she's the master of distribution. So I have to thank her for that.
And Amanda, how often do you guys roll out the podcast? It's every week, right?
So right now we're under a weekly rollout. This is our second season. We do 20 episodes a season, and this week I'll have the 34th episode come out. So probably we'll round out season 2 sometime in February. I did, not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but we've had some sponsors interested. So it may keep going for a little bit longer for season 2, which is amazing. But if not, we'll break for a couple months and probably come back with a summer series that'll kick off maybe around May, June, July.
That's awesome. I love how you said it was a COVID project, and now it's turned into something that's really, honestly, I'm not just saying this because you're on our podcast, but it's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. So we definitely love it. And I guess speaking of having things grow, and you graduated from North Carolina State with a degree in entrepreneurship. How did that translate into getting into journalism and broadcast, and now you have your own podcast? How did that all come about?
That is the best question. I don't know. Truly, no, it was one of those things of it's crazy to say, but with our millennial age group, we experienced the recession. And for me, I was on the hunt of going down a path of fundraising and education. I felt that my college experience at NC State really changed the course of my life. With that entrepreneurship degree, I was the first in the college to be a part of that. And I felt I had all these professors and adjunct professors that just lived the mantra, do what you love and the money will come, never be unhappy one day. And I felt that those are just teachings that, a business degree isn't going to give you, or those are things that I just felt so lucky to have, that I really became incensed about education and being able to give it back. And I was part of the budget crisis for the state of North Carolina in 2009, and my job was no longer funded. So that was the first welcome to adulthood, everybody. And so I walked right back into the restaurant that I quit because I had a degree, hey, I'm graduated. I don't need to wait tables anymore. And I was like, hey, it's me. And, just through that, started doing some video projects on the side. I'd always been into production and media. My first internship in college was with my local news station back in Greensboro. I got to work alongside our sportscaster, and it's one of those businesses, and I'm sure you guys experience this as well. It's a dream career, right? It's something that you want to be involved in. It's just the question of how does it happen? And I guess with no other opportunity in front of me, I ended up making a reel out of the work that I was doing in Raleigh, drove to New York City, got a job at a steakhouse at night, and started interning for a sports agent during the day. So it is a weird path. But I think what it means is there doesn't have to be a path. And I think that I look back when I was 20 and just how, maybe naive is probably the right word. If I think about it, I'm going to move to New York City and become a sports broadcaster, as if that just happens. And
hey, it all worked out. Now, I guess
my mom would say I'm stubborn. So
well, I think the theme is you only get what you give, and it seems like you gave a lot and put a lot of effort and energy into it, and you still do, which is why you're so successful in doing what you're doing today. So
thank you.
And so, how did you get into motorsports? Did you just want to be in sports in general, or did you have a passion for motorsports specifically?
That's also a fair question, because so the New York City stop was 2010, and I didn't have my first on-air role until 2016, actually 2017. So there's a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of no's that you hear along that path. And so for the first 2 years in New York, I worked for that sports agent, and they knew my goals, and there was a couple things that I could do through them. They were all virtual. It was kind of before really Zoom and stuff kicked out. I did a couple of things for a company called Spreecast. Then from that, ended up there was this guy at the ACC network that I emailed every month on the same date at the same time, hey, Josh, it's me again. And so finally I got an email from him and was like, hey, I think we have this opportunity in Chicago. Is it something that would interest you? And I was like, yeah, done, there. And sure enough, the first day they went around and introduced how everyone came to be part of the team. It was a college sports network called Campus Insiders that we launched in Chicago in 2012. And they went around the room and it's like, yeah, Cody came from someone we knew. Kristen came from Teamworks, Brian, all the, and they were like, now Amanda, she just wouldn't leave us alone. Hey. And, I just, I don't know. I almost felt, I think what it was, and I look at younger people now, and it's this impatience that we have, right? And impatience can be looked at a wrong way, right? Impatience can be looked at as entitlement. Impatience can be looked at as, this person wants something that they haven't earned yet. For me, my impatience was my ambition. And I try to find grace in that in a younger generation that, is very aggressive, and I get it. I was the same damn person. And so, that was Chicago. I worked in college sports for about 2.5 years. Had a brief stint selling meat in Boston, Italian sausage out of my freezer to be exact. And then was able to join the NHRA in the end of 2005. I heard about the opportunity of them switching from ESPN to Fox Sports. I flew myself to Dallas for the fall nationals, for the Texas Nationals in 2015, put together 3 content packages. They invited me back to host their red carpet, and they offered me the job that night.
Wow, that's awesome.
So then we moved across the country to Los Angeles, and there really was no, at that point, there really was no expectation that I was going to be on air for them. I was hired to do in-house digital content, and they always say chance favors the prepared mind, because it would be in Epping, New Hampshire, when we would have a rain out, and one of our reporters had to leave for another gig, and it was, "You're in, kiddo." And the following year, I was, I think, at every race. So I still pinch myself at being able to do. Not to get, sorry, I'm getting emotional.
No.
I live a dream.
That's awesome. And it's all about also being at the right place at the right time, right? And then coupled with the fact that you were prepared and you were working hard for a long time. It doesn't happen overnight, right? And that's like with anything, especially in the motorsports industry, building a car or anything, it takes time. It just doesn't happen overnight.
It really doesn't. And I almost, I love that this podcast is called Millennials, because it's like we get to celebrate ourselves now or something, as we've been like, everyone's been pointing at, like, the older generation's been like, "Oh, you millennials," for so long, and we're like, "Ha ha, we're buying houses now, team. We're here. We've arrived." But no, I do feel, I don't want to say sad for the younger generation, but it's not. I think they see instant success through social media, and that's not real. It happens, right? Some people strike lightning, and they have careers that take off because they met the right person or the timing was correct. But a lot of this is all the hours and missed holidays and missed special events for your friends, and delaying your own personal side of your life that people don't see, right? And it's at what is that worth it for you? Is that risk measurable for you? But I hope that I hope that that generation doesn't get burned out, because it is a journey, and it is a lot behind the scenes that people don't see.
Yeah, unfortunately, the journey isn't always broadcasted. Everyone sees the glitz and the glamour. They don't see the tears or the blood or the sweat or the sleepless nights and the unattractive sides of that. But at the end of the day, it's worth it. So as long as we continue getting that message out, hopefully they're receptive to it. So kind of moving into, as your career began with the NHRA and in motorsports, and even if this answer is actually from your before getting into motorsports, so which interviewee made you feel the most starstruck? Like, you're trying to interview this person and you're like, it's hard to stay focused.
Okay, I don't know if starstruck would be the right answer, but on my first reel, and this is what I used to move to New York with. So North Carolina in Raleigh, we would do a Jimmy V Golf Classic. They would celebrate the life of Jimmy V, and there would be sports stars, former coaches that would come. Well, 𝐀𝐻𝐿 𝐒𝐴𝐚 came. And I was the first media in line, and ended up getting the only interview with him that night, by the way.
Wow.
But the starstruckness was I had heels on and still had to like, and no, it was great. So I think just the impressiveness of a being that he was. And then to add one into motorsports, my first air ever on national television was with John Force.
Wow.
And not only was it with John Force, but the context of it was hilarious. So John had signed up for Twitter finally, and it had become national news. Every person in motorsports was talking about it. And so we were going to do a segment in the Fox show with it. So they put me on headset because at this point I was like the digital reporter. So this was my first on-air bit, and this was 2016. So I'm standing there. We still had the headsets in, and my producer's like, okay, we're coming to you in 15 seconds. John is nowhere to be seen. Okay. And I'm like holding my talk back, but I'm like, he's not here. And because he's like walking down these stairs, and he's just like taking his time. John he's a guy that just roams, right? And kid you not, no more than 5 seconds to them tossing it to my heart is like this, right? Because I'm like, here comes John Force. And it ended up being a hilarious interview. It is one that I will always remember. And the idea that my first interview on national television with John Force is, and I tell John this all the time, how many times in your career are you going to cross paths with a legend? And the idea that I still get to share some of this time with John Force is crazy to me. So I know that he has his antics, and you never know what he's going to say, but I'm in a place where I appreciate every moment with it, because you never know, right? So yep, the John Force interview is one I'll forever remember.
Not only is he late to the interview, but it's John Force. It's not like it's just Joe Schmo on the street, So.
Wait, no better way to like dive in.
I guess, yeah, trial by fire, I guess, right? Is that what they call it? So what is your favorite story that you've covered throughout your career?
Gosh, there's been so many. I was reflecting on this year, and the idea that we get to watch these drivers achieve is one of the special parts of, I think, all of our jobs, whether we're at the top end or whether we're in the pits, or, Brian and Tony in the booth, being able to cover these just magical moments for people. A couple of years ago, we got to do a series where we went to hometowns, and sitting down with 𝐀𝐦𝐚 𝐁𝐿 is probably my favorite piece of work I've done thus far. It was such a sensitive discussion that I was able to share with 𝐀𝐿 in regards to his life and things that had happened in his life. And what you don't see is that what becomes a 6-minute interview, which is long for television, by the way. So that shows you how impactful his story is. 𝐀𝐿 and I shared about 2.5 hours the morning of that interview. And to go in a journey with someone that is tough and a bit sacred and a bit emotional, it was really where it hit me. This is exactly what I want to do. And the idea and the comfort that 𝐀𝐿 trusted me, that really left a mark on me. So I would say that is by far my favorite piece of content I've done.
And 𝐀𝐿 always seems like such a great down-to-earth guy. So, but you can sometimes you can tell when you're listening to someone speak, their personality really shows through, right? And they're not putting a front on. So you mentioned that as a magical moment. I guess what would your most memorable moment be at the top end of the drag strip with anyone, whether that's maybe even a woman in the sport that won a race?
Oh yeah, gosh, I've been able to see Erica Enders achieve over the last, get her 3rd and 4th championship, and The 4th, we were in Vegas, and she's watching on the monitor, and we realize she's won the championship, and she just doubles over with emotion, just raw and real. And you think the interesting part for me, it's not interesting, but these are successful people, and these things matter every time. Every time it's a new emotion. What I'm really excited about, and I mentioned this to my boss, is the team that we've assembled now, Brian, Tony, Jamie, Bruno, myself. We get to kind of evolve with this new and next generation of drag racers. What we've been able to see Steve Torrance do over the last 4 seasons in a row, to see what Brittany Force keeps knocking off with track records and speed records and #1 qualifiers. The idea that we can kind of be the voice for this generation of drag racers is, I look forward to seeing where all of this goes, and sharing it with a team that is just so remarkable to work with. You don't see it much in television, and I will say we have the best crew in television. There are 60 of us that show up in each city, and it's like family. And there's no, I don't want to say bad egg isn't a negative. There's just no, it's so special. It's so special. And it's just something that you hope to hold on to and protect and curate. And yeah, we're all really lucky.
Yeah, it's also very powerful too, because like you mentioned, with this generation of racers, you're showcasing everything to this next generation of younger racers who look up to the folks they see on TV, whether it's John Force, Erica Enders, Brittany Force, or who have you. So it's a very impactful job, and the fact that you all feel like family, you can tell because the product's amazing. So it's great to hear. So speaking of events, and you're traveling around, so you've been to many races and important, events throughout, not just drag racing, and every form of motorsports, I would say. So do you have a favorite venue or location that you like to go to? Like one's just a little bit more special than another?
I don't know if there's a favorite. What I like is how beautiful this job, as you're saying, allows us to travel to so many different places. I love how beautiful our own country is. And in a drag race season, you can go to four different corners of the country, hit all the centers. So, I mean, Seattle's beautiful. Bristol, Tennessee is beautiful. Sneaking down, the Winter Nationals at Pomona, that's beautiful. So I think there's so many that are different, but it's great that it's different, but the same. It's different, but it's drag racing in different parts of the country. So, there's so many that I would put on the list. And I think the best part is they all have character for one reason or the other. And things become traditions when you travel, right? So there's the Mexican restaurant near Pomona that we always go to, or there's the cash only diner in Bristol, or there's the barbecue place where I have a beef rib in Houston. There's all the things that build around it. So yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite.
No, that's cool. Every place has its own special, memorable parts of it.
I did get to go to Italy this year, though.
Oh,
to Mugello. So being in the Tuscany countryside with a race happening in 15 turns within the countryside was just completely magical. That weekend, it was just absolutely special for me.
Oh, I can imagine. We're both Italian.
Yeah.
I'm sure you just
Okay.
probably heard our stomachs through the mic. We just got hungry when you said that. So I can only imagine.
I guess being around all this different forms of racing, have you ever wanted to get in a race car yourself?
Oh yeah. So I a couple years ago, it'd be 4 years ago. Well, 2016, I got my Super Comp license with Frank Hawley. And it is addicting. So it's like you look at that time slip and you're like, I can beat that. I can have a faster reaction time. You have all these like things that go through your mind, and it like gets your brain going. I just found out that I can go do this 3-day race experience coming up as well in an open wheel kind of format. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I think for me, it's research. I remember after I did the drag racing experience, I felt so much more connected to what drivers may go through, and not in the sense that I know what 330 miles an hour feels like, but in the sense of I'm out of nowhere, I'm getting ready for my first burnout of my entire life, and all of a sudden my heart just like, it's like my hands are sweaty, and I'm like, I was like, I woke up so excited, like I'm gonna do a burnout today, I'm gonna do a burn, and like all of a sudden, like I'm having a panic attack. I'm like, what is happening? So no, and that wasn't even against someone. I had the whole track to myself. So no, it was. I think it's just kind of recognizing what my athlete in any motorsport might be going through. So yeah, it's neat. I'm all in on getting the real world experience.
That's funny. That's really cool that you experienced Frank Hawley's drag racing school. I know some people who went through it and absolutely loved it.
Do it.
It's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
Definitely do it.
Yeah, it's funny. So speaking of first drag racing experiences, even if it's like a street car, like my mom raced at her Tahoe one time just to see what we go through. And it's just, you have a whole different mindset, right? So that's really cool.
Go mom. That's awesome.
So Amanda, kind of a general question. So who would you say is your biggest inspiration that's helped you, whether it's in life or your career?
Golly. My mom. And I say that because my mom's been handed some very unfortunate hands in her life, and she continues to survive every single one of them. So when I get sad or frustrated or angry or unsure, or I have such a great role model on someone that has proved everyone wrong and continues to. In terms of from the work side, working alongside J.𝐻𝐤 𝐒𝐤, she is unbelievably buttoned up and prepared and knows how to craft a story and knows how to properly begin, showcase, and end a story. So I very much enjoy working alongside her. We get inspiration in so many places in this role, just from some analysis that might happen that I've never heard and wanting to find out more about it. But yeah, no, I try to find sources of inspiration everywhere. But no, I've been knocked out of the park with my mom for sure.
No, that's incredible. So talking along the lines of inspiration, what would your advice be to a prospective journalist or broadcaster?
Gosh, there's so many. I would say the one that was the most impactful to me was my own mentor. I was having a really rough patch in Chicago, had some pretty terrible bosses, just being completely honest. Mm. And I remember him dead eye looking at me straight on, and he said, remember people on your way up because you'll meet them on your way down. And this person clearly doesn't understand that. And it took me, I don't say it took me a while to understand it, but I was still so entrapped in this situation because I'm living in Chicago, making no money, working at a restaurant at night to work my first job. And so there was really nothing that I couldn't do some major move, right? But, it is also a reminder that all things are temporary. You're not going to be the production assistant forever. You're not going to be in that entry-level job forever. And the best part of that is recognizing and seeing the other people around you that are also in those entry-level jobs or that are also working in the field around your age. You guys are all going to grow up together. Make those relationships. And you just never know where someone ends up and it's like, hey, Amanda needs a gig. Hey, so-and-so needs a gig, because you have those relationships. We're now in our mid-30s. Look at us. Hey, not the production assistant anymore. But when you're in it, you never think it's going to end, right? So yeah, I would say remember people on your way up.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that. And Zach and I were just talking about that the other day. I was saying I filmed some stuff I did to one of my cars, and I was looking back on it, and it's like you feel like you don't get a lot done, but then when you look back, and you're like, wow, I actually got a lot done in that time period. So it's just about growing, and it takes time to get there. So I guess talking about the future and getting to the future and looking ahead to that, Amanda, what do you think the future holds for the sport of drag racing and particularly women within the sport?
I think we're knocking on something incredibly special right now. It was the last day of Pomona after eliminations. We had just had 4 championships unfold in front of our eyes on the last day of the season. And we have a group chat within Brian, Tony, our coordinating producer, Jamie, myself, Bruno, and we were just reflecting on, I can't wait to get back here in February. I truly feel that we're on the dawn of something extremely special in this sport. And you can see it in the absurd, silly season we just went through with new teams, people changing teams, different crew chiefs going places, a lot of young people coming into the sport. So, and right along with that, you look at the younger generation, the diversity side is there right as well. You have 𝐀𝐦𝐚𝐬𝐤 𝐒𝐡𝐢, who's coming into pro stock. She's going to be the 2nd female racing in that class, which is just incredible. Brittany Force doing her thing. I imagine they're going to continue to contend for that championship every year. Leah Pruitt, who now has a team that she'll be able to, have more management of how she wants to run her team. And Alexis had breakout moments last year as well. Finally got that win, got a number 1 qualifier. So yeah, no. And throughout the bike category, they've always been full of women competing. So all that stuff's going to continue.
Yeah, we're excited for this season. How it's already 2022, but just what the future holds in general. I mean, I think we kind of believe in the John Force motto. We're going to be on the drag strip until we're not here anymore. So
hey, I like it.
But so obviously we're seeing some changes in the automotive industry with all the electric vehicles coming out, and you do also cover Formula E. So what are your thoughts, Amanda, on EVs hitting the drag strip?
Love it. Tony Stewart took one down the drag strip last year. It was actually his first interview that we got to do with him on air. So, I mean, you see them there. What a natural place to test technology, right? The drag strip has always been that. So the idea that it can happen under our watch, why not? I know Don Garlitz is kind of messing around with an all-electric dragster that they keep promoting, and the desire to get that out there. I know there was a 200-mile-per-hour record broken with an electric top fuel dragster. So I think we're a natural playground for people that are innovative and pushing boundaries.
It's amazing how no matter what a vehicle is powered by, we're always going to find a way to tinker with it and try to make it faster.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And you kind of hit on some a little bit ago. So what storyline are you most looking forward to in the 2022 season?
All of the parity across all the classes. It's been on display in Funny Car for the last couple seasons. I think that top fuel championship this year is going to be one that is going to be so unpredictable. And you got to give it up to Steve Torrence for what he's been able to accomplish the last 4 seasons. But I bet this season, even he's probably a little bit, hey, what's going to happen? I'm sure he's confident. We know Steve is a very confident person. But truly look at the power that's coming into that class. And, it's not only just the full season teams. I mean, these, one-off racers they've gotten their business model so correct that they show up and they're taking big guys out. So, there's just, I hate to keep using the word parity, but to level the field and have pure competition. And my favorite part of Sunday is round 1. Everyone says the finals. Round 1 for me is the most exciting moment of the day. 11 a.m. on Sunday. It does not get better. Every time that anthem finishes and the first pair lights up, you don't know. It could be anyone's day at any moment.
You're exactly right. And I can speak, from a driver's perspective, first round is the most nerve-wracking. It's exciting. And by the time you get to the final round, you're kind of like, all right, well, I don't have really anything else to lose now. So we're here. And you just kind of do it. So no, first round is definitely, like you said, when the national anthem ends, it's like, you just get this feeling that takes over you, and you can't explain it. It's incredible. But you're right. I mean, we have Tony Stewart, Tony Schumacher, TSR, then you have Tony Schumacher now coming back. Yeah, so there's a lot of really exciting things going on. So as we kind of get towards the end of the podcast, Amanda, we're going to do a little fun rapid fire, to kind of not talk shop. We're going to get into some fun stuff here.
All right, hot seat.
Yeah. So, all right. So I read you're a connoisseur of college basketball, ranch dressing, and hot yoga. Now, can you please just tell us a little bit about, especially the ranch dressing part? We want to know.
It's only the best condiment known to man. It pairs with a lot of great things, including French fries, pizza, salad, if you ever want a salad. But yeah, no, ranch dressing. I think it's more so when you say connoisseur of ranch, it's kind of like, I guess if you were a sommelier of wine, like a good wine and a bad wine. I know a good ranch and a bad ranch.
And hot yoga, are we talking yin or is this like free flow, whatever?
Yeah, so I do a vinyasa flow. It's actually a big part of my life. I've been practicing for about 5 years now, and I couple that along with meditation. And I would say I'm sure no one has picked up that I'm a type A person from this interview. So balancing out the 1,000 of conversations that are happening in my mind at a given second. I never thought I could meditate, but it's not stopping thought. It's recognizing thought as just thought.
I think I need to try that.
It's changed my life. It really has. So, but the yoga kind of couples with that and just being present. There's a quote that I really love that's "Be where your feet are." And there's a lot of times we forget to live in the present. So it's a constant reminder that today matters.
Nice. So you have a bunch of frequent flyer miles piled up, I'm sure, from all of your traveling. But if you had to pick one car, and what would that car be, and where would you drive to?
Definitely be a C3 Corvette. My dad had one. It was blue. My father passed away when I was really young, but I always hear these legend stories about my dad, one including him doing an engine swap in the kitchen of our house.
Wow.
So this is when my parents first started dating. So definitely that car. And where would I go? Miami. My dad lived down there. This would have been in his 20s, and got his pilot's license while I was there. So I'd probably just drive the Corvette there. And I'm kind of, I have this, I was 3 when my dad passed away, so I don't really have many connections or memories with him. I was just too young. So I try to imagine things that his eyes would have seen. And the idea that he's been in Miami, maybe we viewed the same thing, just 40 years apart. So yeah, Corvette in Miami. Can't be a bad time.
No.
Sounds like a great time. Nice weather too. But sorry, so last one. And we kind of touched on this a little bit. When you're not, on the road and working, all the time, what do you like to do for fun in your limited spare time? I'm sure.
What do I do for fun? For me, I've always been, I have friends that have supported me and been part of this crazy journey since the beginning. And now that I live back in North Carolina, I can more be connected and into their lives. And so I really try to nurture and stay connected with my friendships as best I can. And I continue to apologize for all the things that I have missed. And luckily I have a strong group of people that have loved watching this and stay supportive. And but yeah, no, spending time with friends, family. I have I have a niece and a nephew, so try to those duties of FaceTime, always a good hour that I get to share with them every couple of weeks. So just trying to stay grounded in life as much as possible. But yeah, it's those weekends stack up back to back, but that's where I'm the happiest. During COVID, I think it was a struggle and a challenge for everyone. But you get to a point where you eventually accept it, right? And I had gotten pretty good at at the routine. And then being back on the road a couple trips and being around the people that I work with that are your work family and taking on new adventures, that's where I'm really happy. And I've, just admitted to myself that I love what I get to do. And I hope that I get to continue at it for a very long time.
Well, we're excited to see you at the drag strip this year. And just one last question. When you're walking down the drag strip with some of the drivers, have your shoes ever gotten stuck to the surface?
Oh, there's epic videos. They get stuck a lot of times. I fell once. I was with Jordan Vandergriff. The video's out there. I was with Jordan Vandergriff, and we had stopped on track for just a quick cut or something. And we go back to rolling, and I go forward and my feet don't. So I was down, and cute little Jordan, he just like turns around and he doesn't laugh at me. He's like helping me up. So his mama raised him right. But yeah, no, I was, I went down, and our shooter editor, Lauren, is also my best friend. So she has gotten a lot of mileage out of that, the blackmail of ha ha ha. So yeah, definitely
Awesome.
I've come down.
Well, Amanda, we can't thank you enough for joining us on this episode of Motoring Millennials. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Yeah, so across the board, Amanda Busick, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I love connecting with our fans. They are so impassioned, and they truly do consume all that we're doing. And it's in a unique place that we get to be to share this experience along with them. So yeah, absolutely. All those things.
Great. Well, Amanda, thank you again for joining us. And anyone who's listening, you can check us out on social media at Motoring Millennials, and we'll catch you next week. And as always, keep on motoring.